Okay, so I have started the recording now. If you don't want to be recorded, then unfortunately you have to leave the meeting. So with that said, I want to welcome everyone to today's demo. We have an interesting topic today, which is relating to the current development that we're doing to support the approval process. So today we have a little bit of a technical theme, which is relating to the metadata that supports or enables the approval process in the library. So with that said, I want to hand the word over to Bård, which is going to conduct the demo today.
Thank you, Fredrik. Yes, so the topic today is data migration, and that's not just for the approval process, but actually for all things we do to ensure that we have control over our data and that we're able to change them if the need should arise. We make mistakes and we need to fix them, and sometimes we just need to change the data structure. And we basically need to have some mechanism to do that in a consistent and safe manner. So I do have, let's start by sharing the screen. No, not window, the entire screen, perhaps like that. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
Good, excellent. All right. So we will talk a bit about actual data migration. But first now, what I've done is that in our development environment, I've cleaned that out and reloaded it with the data we have in production. So the data we have now in dev is the data we have in production. And first we'll just ask a few queries to see what data we have here, and then we will deploy, which means that we will actually run a couple of migrations. While that is working, we will go through what we mean by this migration strategy, what we expect to happen, and then we will go back afterwards and do a new set of queries to see if we've gotten what we expected. So now I just need to authorize here. Okay, so what I now do is just run I have two queries that I would like to run. Let me see here, the first one, because we've made an error. Basically, we said that SKUs, the SKUs ontology, that they had a predicate called description, and they don't. The predicate is SKUs definition. So that means that in our current data, we have now, let me see, let me just change this to a better view. What we have is basically 1,620 cases where we use SKUs descriptions instead of SKUs definition. And this is something that we would like to change. This is something that we would like to update from SKUs description to SKUs definition. And we would like to do so in a safe manner and in a consistent manner between our different environments. So like when we move from dev to quality assurance to production, we do this in the same way. So that's the one thing that we will do now. The other thing is that we have some metadata, some data that says something about where our main data came from, for instance, who made it, when was it made, what is the status, and stuff like that. And we wanted to change that data structure. So I have another one here saying that we have some counts again as to, let's see where we're, just copy that in there. and execute. So now let's see, here we have, again, the different statuses on our different provenance objects. And we would like to change this as well. We would actually now include what is the current status to help us, and that is for the approval process. It should be easier to know the current status of an item. All right, so this is what we have now. This is the data that is in production. And now we'll actually deploy. And when we now deploy, we will do these migrations automatically. That is what we're basically talking about here, that we deploy some code that understands or checks what version your database is on. And if there are newer versions, then it will migrate your data until the new version. So I just started that, and this will now go for a while. So then while that is working, I will go to the presentation. And it's just a bit of background here, because what we would like now is to be able to update our data in a consistent way. And we would like to do that not in a one-off situation. We would like the updates we do to be documented in our code. And we would like to do these changes in a consistent way between the environments, so that we ensure that if we do something in dev, it will be similar in quality assurance and production. So our flow now will be, when we deploy to dev, what I just did when I hit the button is that we have a data migration step that is included. So this is why that takes a bit of time, because it goes through and it sees that our database is currently on version 1, and we would like to put it up to version 3, and then it will kind of change data as we go along. And then we will test. Now we can test in development. And after we're finished with the testing and ensure that, okay, these data, the new data that is upgraded, that is good, we can deploy to our next step. And now a new data migration is performed on the quality assurance data, and we can test again, and then we can finally deploy and generate the same, or perform the same data migrations in production. And what is key here is that the data migration we do in all of these different environments, they are the same. It's the similar things we do. It is in the code, and this also enables us not just to update the data, but also update the code that uses these data in the same process. So this is similar to what we have in relational databases. It is common to create a data migration or a database migration project that are able to generate the scripts you need to update your database as you go along. We do not have the same support for that when it comes to triple stores. It's a younger technology, so that's not developed to the same level. That's why we've kind of created our own lightweight solution to this. So what we now have, we have 3 migrations that is performed as we speak. The first one is this SKU's description to SKU's definition. When we are finished with the migration, we will only see SKU's definition. We will not have any SKU's description anymore. So we fixed our error. And then we have update of metadata. I will say a few more words about that, because that is a bit more complex change of the data structure. And then we have this third one, which is we have a predicate called replaces, which is basically when you get a new version of a term, then it replaces the old term. The old term still exists, but it's just to kind of provide a graph of how this term evolves through time. And we didn't know at the time when we created this functionality what predicate we should use. So we just create one under the temporary namespace we've created. And now we've decided to go with the Dublin core term replaces, which fits the meaning that we intend. So that's the third change. Okay. So our metadata has been fairly simple, and they still are, but we have our main object or our content, that could be a reference term, that could be an IMF type, whatever content the industry decides to create, that is linked to a set of metadata. And the way we've done that so far is basically for every change somebody makes, if, for instance, when we create it, we create one of these blobs with metadata. In this case, it has then the status submitted. And then if somebody decides to replace it, then at the moment that status will change, become deprecated, and we save those data in a new blob. So basically two nodes, two sets of nodes in our graph. So what we saw when we started now to work on the approval process is that we would like to know the current status. And perhaps we should lift some information to a higher level. Perhaps we should be able to query easily current status, who's been the original creator, what was the original creation date, and stuff like that. Perhaps we should gather that in one object and then have a log of the remaining things. So what we now done, the change that we do now on the metadata side is that we have gone from this, basically it will be a cloud of different metadata objects, into this, let's call it base provenance object. And that have this current status, and it has the creator, and it has some other information. And then it's linked to a list of log items where more detailed information is stored. So here you have all the statuses that you've had throughout time and more information. But a few key pieces of information is now collected on the main provenance object. And there's a one-to-one relationship between a content object and a provenance object. So that is the change that we are now doing. Yes. Okay, so hopefully now we can go back and see that our deployment is hopefully finished. Yes. So just check that we are up and running. See that the library is here. Let me search for our temperature. Smetter. Yeah, that looks to be up and running. There we are. So now we can go back and run our queries again. Let's first go back and run the original query, the one with the deprecated, not the deprecated, sorry, the descriptions. So what we expect now is we will not have any descriptions. We will only have definitions. Let's see. Now we see we have 0 descriptions in our data, but there are more definitions. Basically, we've changed SKU's descriptions to SKU's definitions. And the other thing we had was, let's see, these different statuses. Run that. And now we actually expect it to be less. And I should, of course, have kind of kept the original data here somewhere, but now we have less current statuses than we had in the other case. And that is, of course, because in the other case, when we counted, we just said has status, and we got all the statuses, and several of the objects had multiple statuses. And in this case, we only get the current statuses because that other information is stored in some of the log objects that we're not counting here. But this has kind of changed what we were looking for. And this was done on the production data in our development environment. Now we can move this code because we see that this is also something that works in our front end. So we've changed, basically submitted here this status and this created by information. That is something that is stored on the metadata. So we've also changed the front end code to work on the new data structure, which means that we have now this lockstep deployment between changing the data and changing the code that will show it, which is it's a good benefit of a proper data migration strategy. Yes, and I think that was it for today, unless there's some questions
or comments.
We are in the final stages of testing these migrations. Hopefully by the Monday, Tuesday, it will be out in production, and getting these statuses, like full control of the current status, will be an important factor when it comes to the approval process. So this is kind of a step in that direction.
Any questions or comments? I think it was a good presentation, board.
I missed the beginning here. I came in a little bit late, but the end or the part I saw was promising. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. If there's nothing more, then I guess we can finish early. People can have some free time before the weekend.
Will the video be available, Fredrik? Yeah.
Yes, we'll upload it to PCA's YouTube channel.
Yes, good.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, board, and have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.